Hey guys, welcome to RPE, Jargon or Epiphany. Some of you may have already read the article. It's available at medium.com/STCfit if you want to check it out. It's not required. This three-part video series is going to cover everything you need to know about RPE, autoregulation training, how it compares to percentage loading, and what you would need to do to apply it to your training or programming to get the best outcomes. So the main goals that I've got in mind when putting together this video series is attempting to end the RPE versus percentage based training argument. It's around gyms all the time. Coaches fall into, lifters fall into one camp or the other, usually based on what they've been exposed to, what they're used to, what they find comfortable. But the reality of it is you could probably argue both sides really, really effectively and come up with valid points on both. Understanding RPE, its definitions and its evolution, to understand how we got to the point where we are now. It's really important, primarily for coaches, to know why we're using the strategies that we're using now. We're going to dive into identifying the pros and cons of auto-regulation models when compared to percentage load models. Identify a potential best practice that we use at STCfit. Provide some case studies where we prepped 14 athletes for a powerlifting meet using this proposed best practice to get the outcome. And then we're going to demonstrate the limiting factors that we found with the auto-regulation model inside that. So to start off, we need to meet Mr. Gunnar Borg. So he was a researcher in the 60s who put together the first concept of RPE. So RPE is the rate of perceived exertion. It was popularized when Borg released his research in 62 with the 6 to 20 scale of RPE. Now, this was pretty much used for track and field style training to measure how an athlete perceived their entire session to be. So if we had a session that was a 20, it's very difficult. If we had a session that was a 6, it's obviously quite easy. So being able to schedule different intensities around different sessions for different individuals, we could measure how they're recovering, how they're feeling, time things around competition, all of that type of thing. As that strategy's tried to make its way into the weight room, obviously found a lot of restrictions. 6 to 20 is a very broad spectrum. Looking at a workout overall probably isn't going to be the best system when it comes to weight training. So it was further revived into what he called the CR10, which is a 0 to 10 RPE model. You can see that there on the right-hand side there. We've got 0 as rest, working all the way up to 10 being maximal effort. I guess the thing that stands out the most on this is the 3 numbers that don't actually have anything assigned to them. So this is probably why a lot of people have this kind of like, RPE is not very accurate. What the fuck is rate of perceived exertion? Those types of arguments when we talk about RPE and applying it to strength and physique outcomes in terms of programming. Thankfully, it's been modified and evolved since then. So Mike from RTS put together a little bit more refined model. So we took the concept that RPE 10 is a max effort, which really kind of determines that was a rep max. So if you were to do 6 reps with an RPE of 10, really what that means is you've done your 6 RM. That's what we're basically putting together here. So you can see on the table there, RPE for this set was 10. That's maximal effort. So we're starting from the bottom, working up. Could you have maybe done one more rep? That's going to now be a 9.5. You definitely have done one more rep. That's a 9, and so on and so forth. All the way down to roughly 5. Anything under a 5, you're probably not really going to be that accurate when it comes to predicting how many reps you actually had left. We've all had that drop off where you're like, yeah, these first 3 reps felt awesome. Oh shit. Okay, now it's heavy all of a sudden. So we need to consider that. And that's why this scale actually stops at that 5.5. So this is what most modern day coaches are using for their prescriptions. Gives us a lot more detail and allows us to focus on what's going on. So if you see RPE in a program these days, most people are taking this approach rather than an arbitrary, how did it feel? Was it hard? So moving on, probably, I think, made most popular by Mike Israetel. Wasn't, to be honest, able to find exactly where the term originated from. But the term RIR, or reps in reserve, I have real trouble saying RIR. My mouth doesn't like to make that movement in successive order for some reason. So I'm going to refer to reps in reserve for the rest of this discussion. And reps in reserve is going to be our measure of autoregulation, aka RPE, because we've evolved to this position now. The reason we like rep in reserve so much and why STCfit use it in all our programming, it's just easier for a client. From novice right through to advanced, you have someone come in who's never used an RPE model before. They get confused with this old Gunnar Borg model where it's like, oh, is 10 just hard? Or what does like extra reps mean? I'm just a bit confused. Whereas you can be at the top of a super heavy squat. Maybe you're doing a triple, you stand up and you're like, on that third one, you go, oh, maybe I could do one more. It's like, bang, that's really easy. It's like, it's 0.5. I could definitely do one more. Yeah, that's one. Write that in, give that as your feedback to your coach, etc. It's just some simpler process for people to follow. Lifters don't really care about paying homage to where it came from. I think if you're writing these programs, you need to have an understanding of where this evolves from. And if you want to have conversations with other people, maybe defending and explaining why you use this over others, then you probably need to have that little bit of knowledge of where this has evolved from over the last 50 to 60 years. The challenger, I guess, to this notion of autoregulation and the reigning champ, the thing's been around for forever, is Prilepin's chart, or using percentage loads and prescribing load that way. Really, really popular in the strength conditioning space. Probably less popular now with personal trainers. Most personal trainers now are in this kind of auto-regulation phase because they're working with more Gen Pop. They don't have that university education maybe where this is taught a little bit more. Percentage 1RM method is one where a lifter either tests their 1RM or they calculate their 1RM using a rep max effort, and then putting that into a formula and figuring out what their 1RM would assumably be based off that. The results are then loaded into a program where further results are populated and then prescribed as a percentage of the 1RM depending on the target outcome and reps. So Prilepin's chart here is something that a lot of people use in the SNC world, still in the powerlifting world, even in bodybuilding and stuff sometimes, but less so. You see on the left-hand side here, you've got the list of percentages. Then we've got the target reps per set, optimal total reps, and then optimal range of reps for a session. So if you wanted to work in that 55 to 60% load, obviously not a lot of challenge there in terms of loading. We're doing 3 to 6 reps. We're trying to look for around 24 sets of that exercise. And the range of reps that you would do inside that is going to be 18 to 30 over a set. And then that flows all the way down into 90%, obviously doing less work, fatigue considerations, etc. So they're the two things that we're really comparing. In the next series, we're going to go into the comparison of these two. And these are the things that I think are the most important variables that come between looking at autoregulation, so rep and reserve, or percentage-based preloaded weights for programming. First one's going to be accuracy. How accurate are you actually going to be with your prescriptions of RIR, prescriptions of weight put into a program? Which one's going to come out on top? Next, we're going to look into auto-regulation. So can you manage auto-regulation with RIR? Obviously, that's what it's designed for. What about with percentage-based training? Can you still maybe find a way to do that? Skill and strength adaptations for a novice to intermediate lifter in particular, how these two would affect those individuals differently. Lifter personality is obviously a large variable as well. So understanding maybe you need to tell certain people exactly what they need to lift and maybe others you don't need to tell so much. So that's going to be part 2 of this video series. Just wanted to give you the lowdown of exactly what rep and reserve means, where it's come from, the history of it, so you have a really solid understanding as we go in and put these two head to head and then get into what's going to be our best practice. Awesome. Any feedback, let me know at BenScottSTC on Instagram. Shoot me a message. Let me know if you have any questions or anything, and we can refine this even further for you.